First of all, I'd like to thank Najib. Finally, he made it to be Prime Minister of this nation. Wishing him all the best. But to be very frank with the present cabinet, new cabinet, which is announced by him quite recently, as the President of Federation of Malaysian Indian Organization, we are extremely upset with the present cabinet, especially when you see on the Indian representative on the new cabinet. We were expected at least more Indians to be represented. It is going back to the same old story, promise will be made and so on, finally end up with frustration. I don't know whether MIC has requested or not, but I think we from the Indian NGO, we've been trying our best to send clear signals to the Prime Minister and the coalitions and so on, that we need at least 3 Indian ministers. It can be from MIC or other parties, doesn't matter, but we need at least 3 Indian full ministers to look after Indians' affair. It is quite unfortunate. You see, we were having 2 full ministers in early 70s. That was the last. After that, there's no full minister, 2 full ministers, and 1 full minister with few deputies, 2 or 3, and so on. Why we need more Indian ministers? Actually, we want more people to be represented in the cabinet to bring up more issues on Indian-related issues such as religion, culture, Tamil schools, and so on. MIC being the sole representative in the Barisan National and only 1 cabinet minister, I don't think so they can do all that by themselves. Or maybe MIC may need 2 or 3 ministers from their party itself. From our point of view is that why Indians are not really represented, where the Chinese community was given enough space in the cabinet. The MCA, for that matter, they have 4 full ministers, Chinese. The Gerakan have 1. And we have 1 Chinese minister from Sabah or Sarawak, I'm not very sure, with the chain, I think so. So in other words, there are about 6 or 7 Chinese ministers. Why Indians only 1? Okay? And then we have 1 or 2 Sarawak Bumiputras and 1 or 2 from Sabah and 2 from Sarawak. So when you add up all these non-Malays, in other words non-Malays, there's about 10 of them. The present cabinet is about 28 of them, and 18 of them from UMNO. Why UMNO need so many of them to be minister? Why can't they sacrifice another 1 or 2 for the Indians? See, the point is here that the cabinet is really represent the so-called One Malaysian plan. And I don't really understand what does Prime Minister mean with One Nation, because there's a lot of things to be considered on it. It has been Malaysian politics, it's been cultured such way. We've been ruled by the British, so-called divide and rule. The same policy has been used by Barisan National all these years. They mean Indians represent Indians' problem, Chinese represent Chinese problem, Malays represent Malays problem. We used to have so-called NEP policy, supposed to a policy that's equally represent all community. But what has happened to the Indian community? Why Indian community is still the same under NEP policy? You see, there is a clear difference within Pakatan and the Barisan National. Barisan National will be ruling for more than 50 years. No doubt they have brought tremendous development, physical development to the country, building roads, that and this. That is not enough, you see. But people still live in poverty. There are still so-called marginalized communities around. The Indians are marginalized, the Orang Aslis are marginalized, the Sabah Sarawakian Bumiputras are marginalized, even the Malays are marginalized, especially in the East Coast. So you see, why the current stand, especially among the non-Malays, let me talk about the non-Malays, maybe on the Indians, why they prefer the Pakatan rather than Barisan National. I think maybe they have observed what has happened after the March 8, 2008. They have observed one thing. Indians given high-ranking office in Pakatan-based government. Okay, in Penang, we never can dream to have a deputy chief minister. So they have given a deputy chief minister. And Perak, the speaker is from an Indian background. And in Selangor, a Chinese was given a speaker. Would you think that if Barisan was ruling all these places, it would be filled by a non-Malays? I don't think so. If Barisan is so open-minded, they should be given a ESCO seat for the Indians in Pahang. Why till today in Pahang there is no ESCO? So it shows that Barisan is not willing to share the so-called of sharing and caring. So they just want to make sure that the nuns are just an office boy. Okay, you do my work, things like that. So I think the nuns, especially the Chinese and Indians, realize that it's okay to vote for the opposition. Let's give opposition a chance. I think that is the mode now. If the UMNO claims the non-Malays are voting the opposition, Malays are voting UMNO and Barisan, also again is wrong. Why I say wrong? In Terengganu, 97% of the population are Malays. They lost. So in other words, even the Malays are not happy with UMNO and Barisan Nasional. So it's a clear signal to the Barisan Nasional that they have to change their policy, they have to change their system, they have to change everything, not one, two. Because they're still living behind shadow of Mahathir and other things. So I think they have to move out from that. I think Najib, if he wanted to be a very successful leader like his father, he has to stay away from Mahathir. Because Mahathir could be an icon by itself, but it doesn't help him at all. We see the results of in Bukit Selambau, in Bukit Gantang. His presence there was not really given any positive impact to the Barisan Nasional. So it shows that people are not really having a good faith on Mahathir. You see? So Najib has to have his own legacy. He must come up with something new. He must win the non-Malays and the Malays as well. You see, I'm not racist here. I'm looking on the aspect of no community left behind. No community left behind. So Najib has to come up with the strategic planning and so on. You can always come up with so-called strategic programs, whatever, for backward community. You don't have to name particular community, because we are divided with so-called Bumiputras, non-Bumiputras, things like that, very racial. So you can come up with a backward community policy, Any community for that matter, if they've been left out from the mainstream, they'll be given a chance for them to come up in a socially, economically and other things. So I think he has to come up with such thing. Okay, the Bukit Gantang results shows that 9% of the Indian voters voted Barisan Nasional, 11% of the Chinese voted Barisan Nasional. If this trend continues, that is a clear sign to nationwide the next government is Pakatan. The next general election belongs to Pakatan. So Barisan Nasional, especially UMNO, has to come up with a plan, program for the non-Malays. They cannot be playing games with other MCAs or MICs, things like that, They must entertain issues brought by the NGOs. You see, there were so many memorandums set by the NGOs to the Prime Minister's department during 80s and 90s, during Mahathir's era. None was replied. None of us was called or checked or even a discussion. I hope Najib doesn't do the same mistakes. If he really sincere, he has to give a room for all to check and must prepare to listen for a call from the public, And he must accept the fact that he says that government knows best is not more policy. So if that is the policy, give all of us an equal chance to visit him, talk about the issues, and let's see what the future is like.